Yeah, I guess it's strange to say, as I did yesterday, that this feels like coming home, but there's a home quality to this place. Everybody talked about it at the airport waiting for their bags. You know, it's the hotel is fantastic. The volunteers are smiling like like no other tournament. It's a great venue. It's always turned out a great champion. If you look at the list of champions of this place, it's unbelievable. It's connected to a great mall. You know, the food is fantastic. And I think after coming here for so many years, the people of HSBC and their customers have become friends. I mean, I was just riding around in the Pro-Am, saying hi to different groups, and you don't do that at every tournament, where you actually feel like the people in the Pro-Am, the people at the parties, the people at the hotel, you know and you've met. So yeah, there's a real relaxation that comes with getting off the plane in Singapore, and it actually does feel like a home game.
Can you just talk about?
Yeah, it's funny, a year ago sitting here, I remember during the press conference, a lot of questions were about, do you think anyone's going to clearly become the #1 player? And isn't it funny to think 12 months later how asked and answered that question's been? I think this year is really going to be about the chase pack. I mean, I've seen how hard the players are working in the off season, and it's just going to be exciting. And as it's been for a couple of years now, there's really something for everybody. Whether it's Ai Miyazata from Japan, or GA, and Na-Young Choi, and Amy Yang coming from Korea, or whether it's Christy, Michelle, Paula, and the rest, Lexi now from the U.S., Kari from Australia, Yanni from Thailand. We really are a global event every time we tee it up, and there's a lot of countries rooting for countries, and there's a lot of countries meeting players from another place. I've said this many times, and maybe this will sound commissionorial, if that's a word I could just make up, but the stockpile of young 20-somethings right now in the LPGA is like it's never been before. If you think about the group that's really in the top 10 or 15, all of them for the most part have the best years of golf in front of them. So I mean, Michelle Wee at 21 or 22, Yanni at 23, 24, Paula Creamer at 24, 25, Morgan Pressel at 24. I mean, you got Na-Young and GA who clearly are going to have the best golf of their life coming up. So I think I'm lucky as commissioner to be able to sit through what's really going to be a phenomenal time in women's golf, really, and in 4 years, take it to a next level and putting it on the Olympic stage. So I think it's a fun time for the women's game, and the result of it being such a good time is showing up on our business. Our viewership was up across the board. It was up 40% in the U.S., 28% worldwide. We added more sponsors in 1 year than we've added in 40 years, and it's a good momentum. And I'm smart enough to realize it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with what's going on in the ropes.
Amen.
Well, it is an exciting time. We went through, I've always said there was no small business, and we're not a super huge business. There was no small business that wasn't affected by the economic turmoil of 2008, 9, and 10, and we certainly were too. And as I've always said to my staff and to players, businesses that go through tough times come out better. They may not like having gone through them, but it gets you to refocus. And I think as an organization, we 100% refocused on what's most important. And for us, that's the customer. Now maybe our fans don't want to hear that, and maybe media doesn't want to hear that, but for us, it's making sure that we play a golf tournament. It's not just a golf tournament, but we play it for our partners. So whether that was ISPS Honda when we started in Australia, whether that was Honda Thailand last week or HSBC this week, we realized that we'd have to do more than play a golf tournament. And what's going on today with customers, what's going on tonight with customers, is part of our responsibility to make sure this is a good business for HSBC, not just a good tournament for HSBC. And I think as a result of us getting back to what it's really all about, we've added more tournaments. We have focused almost zero of our time on tournaments we didn't have or sponsors we didn't have. We focused on the tournaments we did have, and that resulted in more tournaments. I think the result of happier customers generated more customers. Well, it's a funny job, this commissioner thing. Sometimes I think the title kind of gets in the way because you get way too much credit and way too much blame. It's kind of like being a quarterback on a football team, I think, sometimes. So, I'd love to lie to you and say that it's been my leadership that's turned it around, but I think, you know me well enough to know that's not true. So it's, I think really the most important thing is we believe in a term called role reversal. I started talking about it on Mike's question, which is role reversal means spend more time talking about the person who's writing the check than who's going to win the check. Golf takes care of itself, and what's going to happen here Thursday to Sunday is going to happen Thursday to Sunday. But what doesn't take care of itself is understanding the customers. When our players Over the last 2 years, when our players signed up for an event, when they came here on Tuesday and signed up, they got a 2-page form called the customer profile sheet. And that form, I'm sure I carry it with me all the time. You know, I mean, that form says on the very top, who's writing the check this week? And then it says why. It says what are their key objectives. It shows pictures of the key executives and the key customers that are going to be here this week. It suggests what you should tweet in Facebook. It tells you where to send your thank you cards. Not should you, but where to send your thank you cards. I think the biggest difference for us today, maybe versus 2 years ago, is again that refocus, that role reversal mindset. And that's what I mean when business gets tough. You got to go back and say what's the most important thing. The most important thing for us is to showcase the best female golfers on the planet week in and week out. The most important way to do that is be a good partner to the business community. And I think we're a better business partner today than we were, and I think we have better action inside the ropes. And those two things have resulted in me getting more credit than is really a reality. And you guys know that.